Hey guys, Bella here, and I have been on a GLP-1 med for 3 years now. Hard to believe, but in all of that time, I have seen the media and YouTubers, creators sensationalize the dark side of Ozempic, the dark side of GLP-1s, whatever you want to call it, and I am here to say that there are some legitimate dark side things that you should know about, but for the most part, a lot of these things are very rare to happen and they are treatable symptoms. I don't think that there's very many cases of an irreversible thing that happened to someone because of being on a GLP-1 other than the fact that they lost weight. So in the video, I want to get into some of the negatives that can happen. I'm not saying that all of these happen to me. Some of these have just happened to people in the GLP-1 community. The first one that I think is the biggest one for me is food aversions. So not just not wanting to eat, but like literally like being almost disgusted with a certain type of food. For example, when I first started my first couple of months, I feel like I could not eat hardly any like meat. It was almost like the smell of meat was like repulsive to me. And given how GLP-1s work, they actually make the food stay in your body longer, and protein takes longer to process, so that probably had a lot to do with it, just me knowing that that food was going to stay in me for so long that I just did not want to eat any kind of like burgers or pork or chicken, anything like that. I would eat maybe 2 or 3 ounces at a time until I built back up to being able to be on it. But if you have a favorite food, it's very possible that your favorite food becomes something that you cannot stand. And then there was also just like the pull to drink alcohol really went away. So I mean, I know that sounds like mostly a positive, I guess, but if you are trying to go out and have a drink with friends or something, it's almost like you just don't even want it. So that's something to be aware of if that's a big part of your life. Not saying that it's bad for it to come to an end, but I will say that you need to be prepared for the gap that it's going to leave, because you're going to have to find something to replace it with. Fried food of any kind has made me really sick in the past. It's not as big of an issue now since I'm on the highest dose, and I have been for a while, but fried food made me violently ill a couple of times. So if you're a big fan of that, the dark side is that you'll no longer be able to probably eat that if it makes you really sick. Another thing that people don't talk about is the energy fluctuations that you experience. So I was really tired whenever I would first take my shots. I know that sometimes I felt like I wanted to sleep like all day, and so a lot of people switch from semaglutide to tirzepatide, and that's something that helped them. I don't know what the case is for all of you, but for me, I was really tired on semaglutide, and that subsided after the first couple of weeks, but for some people that never went away. So that's just something to be aware of, that on your shot day, if it's the weekend, maybe you can take it then, or you can take it, you know, on a day where you don't have a lot going on at work, but energy levels plummeting is a real thing that can happen. I feel like pancreatitis is one that you see in the news a lot if you search up Ozempic, because people who have had it have been very vocal about it. And let me just say that you may experience like some cramping with Ozempic, but I don't feel like you'll know if you have pancreatitis. You will definitely know. I think that for people who have had it, they said it's extremely painful, and so if you are one of the tiny percentage of people who have it, I would say that you'll definitely be aware of that's what it is. I've had an ovarian cyst that burst, and that was so painful, and I would say that pancreatitis is probably right up there with that, but that it doesn't go away, it just persists until you get medical treatment. That is something that is a very rare side effect of Ozempic, but it's the one that the news articles constantly mention. And then also your stomach basically freezing up, so gastroparesis, where you cannot move things through your body. So look into those things, look at the science and the studies behind those, and be aware of those, but know that that is statistically very unlikely to happen to you. The nausea is definitely one of the worst side effects, I think. Someone compared it to pregnancy, being that you were sick almost every single day. So I think if that's the case, you need to lower your dose or change to a different medication, because my nausea has really subsided as time has gone on. I feel like nausea is something that is person to person specific, so it could hit one person really hard and then another person could feel no side effects at all. But that kind of nausea, that just kind of like almost uneasiness, I remember feeling that, like having to do everything in my power to not just like vomit immediately after eating was a big issue for me. And so I had never really dealt with that kind of nausea before. It really does just kind of put you in a bad negative place, because I would just lay down in the bed like kind of like covering my mouth almost, just trying not to keep it all down. And I remember like sometimes I would be out in public and I would just be like, I need an alcohol wipe. If you smell an alcohol wipe, it will sometimes make the nausea go away, but for me, I felt like that was probably the worst symptom for me. People also experience a lot of different like GI issues, like constipation, sulfur burps, things like that. So those are all things that are legitimate side effects, but I feel like most people have found ways to combat those. There's a lot of videos that talk about the different supplements you can try. I know for a lot of people in the community, MAG07 is something that people use, papaya enzymes, things like that. I have an entire list of products that I would recommend if you are starting a GLP-1. You can check that in the links below. But for me, the biggest thing was just making sure that I ate smaller meals, because when I ate a large meal, boy, I felt it. It was awful. I don't even want to sugarcoat it. It was just terrible. And And so I really learned quickly to change my eating habits, and habits are the foundation of keeping the weight off. I know that one of the major dark sides of these kind of medications is that a lot of people report that they gain all the weight back after they stop taking it. My thought process on this is, why would you stop taking something that worked for you? I know a lot of people don't want to be on it forever. I guess in my mind, I'm like, I've already proven that my body was flawed and my body was not processing food correctly because I was constantly hungry. So the dark side can be that if you cannot continue to get it, or you can't afford it, or things like that, you may gain some of the weight back and you may default to your old eating habits. One way to combat affording it is to use Fridays. This is a telehealth company that I use, and you can get $100 off your first month with code BELLA. Semaglutide is $149 for your first month if you use my code. So if you don't know how to get it affordably, definitely look into Fridays. I've been using them for over a year, probably closer to 2 years now, and I really have had good luck with them. The medicine comes shipped straight to my door, so I don't have to worry about anything like that. I just get it every month and I don't have to go to a doctor's office. You can also screenshot this and get the QR code, and it will take you directly to my link tree where you can sign up. A really dark one, I think, is hair loss. I have not suffered from that, but I know someone personally who has, and her hair was coming out in like pretty big clumps and she had to stop taking the medication. Now, I don't know how much of that was that her calories were really low, but I do know personally that that happened to someone. Hair loss is a side effect when you lose a lot of weight quickly. If you look up weight loss and hair loss, you'll see a lot of articles talking about why that happens. People who start fasting experience hair loss. People who do keto experience hair loss. So I would just say that hair loss is probably one of the ones that affects women the most, because of course we're going to freak out if we start losing our hair. I've always had like thick dark brown hair that honestly I have more hair than what I need, but hair loss is a legitimate side effect of losing that weight. Not saying that it's Ozempic specific, but for GLP-1s in general, you're losing weight fast and you can be tempted not to eat. And so if your body feels like it's in like fight or flight, your body feels like it's not getting the nutrients it needs, hair loss can become a side effect. So I would really encourage you to keep your protein high, make sure you're eating regular meals, and make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Even though it can feel like, yeah, I can skip a meal here and there, it's better to just get you a little bit of calories. Even if it's just 200 calories, you eat a piece of cheese or something like that. Make sure that you consistently eat something throughout the day. A lot of people also experience like dehydration and heat intolerance, meaning like you can't go to the beach whenever you want and just stay out there all day. Your body feels faint. You might feel like really tired, really thirsty. I would recommend electrolytes, because if you are someone who's like me and you're like, oh, I don't want to drink water all day, I just feel like it's easier to dump a packet of liquid IV into a 16-ounce water bottle. I know I can get that down. I'm not the best about drinking my water, but for sure, being outside and being hot, you will get overheated sometimes. And then also just being cold inside. I've noticed how cold I am now that I've lost weight. So that's one, I guess, like downside, and how, you know, things are less comfortable now. Like my knees touch together and there was a bunch of fat there before. That's such a weird thing to think that is uncomfortable, but that's something that I thought about the other day, is like my legs don't feel like as comfy as I used to feel when they had all the fat on them, but it's also a lot easier to walk upstairs. So pretty good trade-off in my opinion. Another dark side is plateaus. So anybody who's ever tried to lose weight, especially tried to lose a lot of weight at one time, like over the course of a year or 2 years, for me it's been 3 years, is the plateau. So basically your weight gets to a certain amount, it just doesn't move from there. And that can be a good thing. It can also be really challenging if in your mind you still want to be at a lower weight. For me, I've been hanging out at the same weight for almost a year now. I haven't really lost a ton of weight. I've definitely seen body composition changes as far as like my physique goes, but for me, I don't really care as much about the plateau. But you can hit plateaus. I feel like the medicine can lose its effectiveness. I do know that some people say that after a while it stops to help with that part of the food noise. Now thankfully I haven't really experienced that, but I have taken breaks here and there. I could probably make a video about that, but there's sometimes where I even accidentally took a break from my medication, like if I was traveling or something like that. So that could definitely maybe help with the efficacy of it. Always talk to your doctor about it, but that's something that I know that if you take something consistently and then you stop taking it, it can help, you know, make it work better. But sometimes people say that it stops working for them, so that could be a legitimate thing. If semaglutide stopped working for me today, I know I could switch to tirzepatide with Fridays, so that's not something that I have to worry about, just knowing that I have like a resource to switch over. Now tirzepatide is more expensive, but a lot of people say that it works better, so that's something that you have to think about, is what amount of money you want to spend. It could also qualify as another dark side, honestly, because I've seen people on Reddit saying that they paid like $1,200 a month for their medication, which is just ridiculous to me. There's so many telehealth providers now, and I just don't see any reason why you would pay that much money. I think for that amount of money, you could get several months worth from most online providers. So the money part of it is a dark side, I think, and it's not the fault of the medicine. It's the people who make medicine. The healthcare industry in general does not want people to be able to access these medications cheaply, and so even though it should be widely available, it is not, and so it's difficult to obtain it if you don't have the money to pay out of pocket. That's why I recommend compounded meds if you cannot afford it and your insurance coverage drops you like mine did. Probably the worst side effect that I dealt with wasn't even physical, it was external. It was the judgment and pressure that I received from people who found out that I was on the medication. I had a lot of people saying that they thought I was taking away Ozempic from diabetic people, people who said that I was taking the easy way out, people who did not understand a lifetime of being overweight and dieting, people who didn't see the 10 years of calorie counting and rigorous exercise that got me virtually nowhere. I would lose 5 pounds at a time after eating 1,200 calories a day for weeks. So I think that that's something that was really hard for me, is having the opinions of others be so judgmental. And it wasn't necessarily anyone in my life saying anything about it. It was just what the public in general was saying about it, what people were saying about it, everyone making like snide comments when someone loses weight, like, I bet that's Ozempic. And it's like, you know, that's not really a nice way to talk to people. And I think a lot of it has to do with people feel threatened when their fat friend becomes a normal weight, because you're placed in their life, their social hierarchy changes, and you may have been beneath them on some level, even subconsciously. And so they start to think, oh, this person is like climbing up the social ladder, I can't have that, I've got to push them back down. And so they'll say negative things about how you lost the weight. But to be honest, I don't think it's anyone's business whether or not I'm on a GLP-1 medication for the rest of my life or not. It's working for me. It's just something that is really in the background of my life at this point. And the most negative thing that I could say about Ozempic or GLP-1s is the stress that I initially felt whenever I couldn't get it prescribed from a doctor. Those first couple of months trying to get it from the pharmacy, prior authorization process that was awful, the lack of awareness of obesity medicine in my small town in Alabama. So all of those problems have basically been solved by using Friday's telehealth. So I'm so thankful that I found them and that I'm able to work with them. If not, I genuinely don't know if I would be at the weight that I'm at right now, and it has really transformed my life. If you're thinking about starting and you don't know where to start, just click the link in my bio and go to my link tree, and that will give you all the information you need to get started. If you qualify, you could honestly have the medicine shipped to your door probably within 2 weeks between watching this video and starting the process, probably sooner honestly, but that's a pretty good margin of error. I hope that this video makes sense to you guys. I wanted to talk about the negatives, but I also wanted to just kind of make light of the fact that people say like the dark side of Ozempic, because it's like, it's really not that serious. I think a lot of people overthink it. They read the side effects on a medicine package and assume that every single one of those things is going to happen to them. So if you're somebody who overthinks medicine, maybe just don't read that much into it. I'm not saying be ignorant, but I'm saying like there's a reason why those things are so long, because they have to list every single thing that could possibly happen. So honestly, for me, the major things were just nausea and some constipation and like just generally tiredness, sometimes getting a headache. That was it. And so I'm down over 40 pounds now, and I'm at a weight that feels good for me. So that's the most important thing to me. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I will catch y'all in the next one. Take care until then.